Welcome, and thank you all for joining us for another live episode of Teachers for Teachers. I'm Dr. Dejana, and I'm here with my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Leah. Hello, Leah.
Hello, Dr. Dejana. I've just realized that everyone today joining us is Dr. Somebody. So why don't I let you introduce the rest of the panel? And today I think we're just going to talk about what we're hoping for and expecting and planning for as we reopen the schools.
Absolutely. So, first off, I'd like to introduce Dr. Marcella Klein Williams, an accomplished leader in education and well known in both formal and informal learning environments. Dr. Williams is a frequent speaker on issues of equity, currently serves as the STEM director of Oxnard College. Go ahead and say hello.
Hi, everybody.
In addition to Dr. Marcella Klein Williams, we also have Dr. Mark Riddle. Mark Riddle has degrees in music, theology, and sociology. Currently works at West Coast University and lives locally where we're broadcasting from in Los Angeles. There you go. That's the crew.
That's us this week. Oh, Mark, I jumped in and you didn't get a chance to say hi to everybody.
Well, I was going to say I'm also doing a little cat herding today, but
Many talents.
Well, I'm not sure the cat's allowed on the show today since we are all PhDs, unless you can tell us that she is, at least all but dissertation at this point.
I have I have pictures of her and her brother on the desk that I was working on my dissertation. Like they would lie across the keyboard when I'd have to get them off so I could work on my dissertation and whatnot. So they go back that far anyway.
Well, that counts. That definitely counts. So I don't know, Dejana, you're the one here who both has children that you're going to be sending to school and will be teaching in a classroom full of kids. So
I know. Welcome to the first week of August, where classrooms all over the United States are opening their doors. Teachers are getting ready, preparing to receive students after a very strange season of hybrid, remote, back to school, mask, no mask, strange learning environments that we did our best. So you're right. I'm here preparing to go into my classroom in a couple of days now. I wanted to say weeks, but now we're in a couple of days. And I'm also preparing to send my own children. And I have thoughts and feelings. I have excitement. I'm really kind of looking forward to launching another school year. We didn't get to launch in person last year. So launching an in-person school year where we basically dedicate our time connecting with our students and really getting to know them as young people and little humans. And we can connect on a really powerful level. In the event we do have to go to remote, it's going to be nice that we started together before switching to a remote learning situation. So I'm preparing for all modes. I'm preparing to welcome my students into my classroom. I'm preparing to welcome some remote students into my classroom, students who, for various reasons, have decided to stay remote learners. And I'm also prepared to send my own personal children out into the world of in-person learning. So that's kind of where I'm landing right now at this point.
yeah, Marcella, how about at the college level? What's the situation there?
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. So Oxnard College is a part of Ventura County Community College District. So we've welcomed back all of the supervisors and managers came back the beginning of July, and now all of the professional staff is coming back now the beginning of August. Many of the students are opting for learning online as opposed to coming back onto campus. And Leah, some of the hardest parts is we had the drop of enrollment that happened, last fall. So my expectation was it's a year, so it'll be a severe drop and then it'll bounce back. We actually dropped even farther than it was from last year. So it's
No.
continuing that decline. And why that's a big concern to me is Oxnard is in a community of high poverty, So these are the least people that you want to miss out on kind of climbing that economic mobility ladder by getting a good education. So it's really rough here. I was listening to an online conference that was a national conference, and people responding to what had happened across the nation. And I think wherever you're at, you think that is what the world is. And it was really rough here during the pandemic, and we're not out of it yet. So I think sometimes we underestimate how tough this has been already. So I think this could be one of the most important beginning of the school year of my entire career, because in this interesting way, we're not just welcoming students. This is everything about this year is different. So we have to be different. Is we have to take care of each other in a way that we probably haven't been able to before, and we're all stretched a bit more than we've been before.
Right. What
Yeah, I
about
think
your
that's-
students, Mark?
Well, we our ground programs are all 10 weeks long, and so we've had students the whole time went pretty much immediately to remote back in that March, way back when. They're preparing to open the campuses, but as they were deciding that it might be safe to open the campuses to more on-ground coursework and whatnot, the CDC's released additional guidance based on the Delta strain of the, which is apparently much more contagious, has a much higher load on bodies, and so it's much so the situation continues to change on a nearly daily basis. As but I think what Marcella was saying about particularly draining this community that's already at risk. I think about that sort of cross the entire economy, like all of these students whose final year of education or whatever at the college level in secondary school, that's got to have cumulative effects that we're going to be feeling the rebound from for years to come.
I think you're right. I was wondering, Mark, if your school, because you work in medicine and you're training the next generation of nurses, was your enrollment up as a result of the pandemic or down?
We're a for-profit, and so the powers that be work really hard at increasing enrollments all the time. They still increased, but at a slower rate than they might have otherwise. I think and I think you get sort of the 9/11 effect on the military, right? There were a lot of enlistments following 9/11. And I think a lot of the reasons that people gave for wanting to seek medical education also reflect the period, so that there were a lot more, a higher proportion of the people who were applying for positions were writing that was because they felt a commitment to improving the health in their communities and whatnot. So so some semi-good effects if you get stronger commitments from people on the basis of the struggle that we've all gone through.
Right. I wonder about the this variant seems to have more impact on younger children than the original, and that's the conversation that I hope is going on at the administrative level as we bring kids back, because we are going to have to do the distance learning and even be more social distancing between the kids in classrooms, and so the spacing and all of those considerations that we thought we were starting to wind down are not possible, because the 12-year-olds are fairly safe with the vaccine, but there are a lot of little ones that are completely vulnerable. And I wonder, Dejana, are you, because you're going from middle school to a younger class this year, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm going to be in with kindergarten and 12th grade. So I'm going to see the whole and support all the way through. So I'm sure there are going to be different types of policies in place to help keep kids as safe as possible. I think the goal of educators on all levels is to figure out how to mitigate different risk factors. We know that kids, it's better for them to be in school, but how can we keep them safe? So again, we're not out of it, right? We're back trying to figure out and make plans and know that our plans might have to be modified in weeks or 2 weeks and just do the best we can with the data that's currently provided. But I want to take it back to what Marcella said. What I do know we are all going to do moving forward is try and take care of each other, try and take care of ourselves, and try and create space to be as supportive as we possibly can for the students and young people that we serve. That's going to continue to change and morph and shape and size as we go through. But I think that's definitely the heart of the educator and the education system.
So, Dejana, what's your T-shirt say?
Oh,
It's science, right?
it is. It says Ernst E. Just Youth Science Program. I'm all about science. E. Just was an African American marine biologist, the first documented African American male marine biologist. And this shirt celebrates him and also provides supporting the Bridge Builder Foundation that supplies funding for young Black and Brown children to get experiences in marine science.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Little plug right there. Sorry, I haven't changed.
That's okay. I wanted to know, and I think that's part of what we're doing here, right? Letting people know about opportunities that exist in education. And do we know who the first female marine biologist was? Did somebody get there before Dr. Figueroa?
I'm sure. Yes, absolutely. I hope so. Because the Earth has had an ocean for a really long time. So I'm hoping that there was one before me for sure.
What's your school doing for like the classroom size and that sort of thing, Dejana?
I don't know yet. So I think we're kind of waiting to hear from the county, and then we'll take guidance from Los Angeles County because I happen to be in Los Angeles. And I do know on Monday there is a scheduled meeting for the entire school community to learn what the procedures and protocols are going to be for the fall. We're only getting vague messages that we plan to fully open and receive all of our students in the fall. The actual details as to how that's going to happen, those are going to be laid out later. But I imagine we'll have outdoor classrooms and we'll try to do our best to provide areas and opportunities for social distancing, lots of hand sanitizer. And because we're in California, we will have a mask mandate. So we'll be expecting all the kids above 2 years old to come with their masks and just ready to go. I was talking to my own personal kids, and a mask is now a part of their lifestyle. When they go outside, they feel a little weird if they don't have a mask on. They are thinking that they're in superior physical, like they're physically fit because they do sports with mask on. So they're like training and doing all this stuff. And it's kind of hard to breathe, but they're like, the benefit is I'm probably going to be pretty tough when the season comes. So for us, it's not going to be a big adjustment. They're used to wearing masks when they go outside. So it's that's what we do now. Kids are so resilient and adaptable.
They really are. But one of the concerns I had with the summer camp that we did, we had the one school that wanted us to do it in person. The kids would not wear their masks. And I don't know I don't know how to, when you're coming in from the outside, you don't know the kids, you don't have a relationship. It was really impossible to get them to keep the masks on. And of course, then someone tested positive. I don't know if there was a ripple effect of that in the classroom, because it was in the younger group, the 5 to 7 year olds, where the outbreak was. But that's, and I was at a restaurant today, an outdoor seating area, and a woman came to the reception desk, which was right close to where we were, and the hostess said to her, "Oh, you need a mask on." She said, "I don't wear a mask," and she just walked by. And I just thought, like, a year and a half in, and we still have, like, people rebelling against wearing a mask with all of the data that we have about the impact and effectiveness. And I think we've talked about it here before, but maybe not. Like the normal flu usually sends about 125,000 people or 175,000 people a year across the country to the hospital. Last year, there were 125 people, not 125,000, but 125 people in the entire country that went to the hospital with the regular flu. The masks worked.
Yeah.
Do you have trouble, Marcella, at the college level? Are the kids wearing their masks?
They're strangely so obedient here about those sorts of things. This is probably one of the sweetest learning environments I've ever been on. I tease that if you ever hear somebody swearing, then it's normally some of the professional staff.
Right.
So, but here's one of the thoughts that I had is that in this coming year, everybody is so hungry with just tell me what you want us to do and then we'll do it. And then that's exactly what we don't have. We simply don't know what's going to happen next. So, what we have to do is to support, we're good thinkers. So we'll respond and we'll be flexible with what comes next, which is hard, right? Because when you're uncomfortable, you just, want to know exactly what's going to happen. And I think on the planet, there are very few super comfortable, go with the flow kind of folks right now. But when you think about what the economy wants next and who will kind of rise to the top. We've been talking for decades now about it's the creatives, the people who can think outside the box, who can go with the flow and kind of meet that. And in this strange way, this pandemic has done that in two ways, right? Because it's accelerated the uptake of technology. So at a community college, we're always looking at how do we train the next generation, whatever jobs are coming. So we have to be on it because so much is changing at a much faster pace than it had before. But in order to just run the school, to run the college, we have to be creative on our own and kind of be much more nimble with, we thought we were going this direction. Turns out, no, that's not working. And now we're going to go this direction instead. But that's a tall order with people who are really tired. And, as we're starting to come back, I remember I went to the dentist probably a couple of months ago and thought sure I had a cavity. And she said, "Oh, no, you're just like everybody else grinding your teeth to a little pulp at night. Everybody's coming in for it." And within a day of being back where everybody was back, there's a colleague who snapped her teeth because she had bit so hard and now has had to have it extracted. So, not only are we having the pandemic of the COVID-19, but you could start passing out beta blockers with snacks with all the people with having to take stuff for high blood pressure and everything else. This is hard. And we thought it was over.
Yeah, we had a month or so there where we were out.
Wasn't it great?
There was traffic again. We were in restaurants. We were hugging our friends. And yeah, it's very, certainly this is far more contagious. And someone who's vaccinated carries a viral load, but someone who's unvaccinated carries a viral load that is sometimes 1,000 times stronger than the viral load of the vaccinated person. So having an unvaccinated person in your workplace or in your community is really dangerous for everyone because the children are unvaccinated. They can't be. So it's like, how do we keep them safe? And
I know. I was just saying that would be every school,
right.
elementary school, for sure.
And the teachers union, have they agreed yet to insist on vaccines for teachers, or is that even a conversation?
Well, I can speak for the UCs and the CSUs are requiring proof of vaccination. And I know that was after it was approved. So I don't keep that in touch with how it's going. And then for the community colleges, it's based on the districts. So the whole system can't decide. So it's left to the districts to decide. And I know that is kind of an ongoing conversation. And I also know that with our college district, a lot of our sister college districts in our community, they're not back on site, and we're back on site. So it is kind of it makes me think even more now. You know, the difference between when we did the snapshots and we're bringing students to go see places of work, what business and industry looks like. And in some of the places, a lot of the places that we went, you didn't have these individual offices. So it makes me think, you know, just like I did then, what does a workspace have to look like? I wondered more now, who really does need to be on campus? When does that make sense? And you guys know me much better than those of you who are watching, but I'm the one who's always talking about bringing community together and building those connections and how that is really empowering. And for this past week, we have a campaign called the Caring Campus, and one of the things that we're looking at is building connections, limiting contact, and valuing health. And we just have to get better at building kind of this sense of community that's online. It's way easier to do it when you're in person. But, you know, some of the things that we had planned, Leah, where I was trying to make sure that, you know, you're limiting contact, it's with the variability of what's happening on the news, it still felt like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I think we're all rethinking our plans for fall and winter, and the numbers are not going in the right direction. But what about, like, so for teachers, Dejana, what's optimistic about this? What can we leave the teachers with that gives some sense of hope, or that somebody's watching out for them?
Well, I can only share for me personally is we have vaccines. We didn't have them at the beginning of last school year. So that is an option that we can choose as teachers to not only protect ourselves, but do our best to protect the community that we serve. So that's a complete different space to be entering the school year than we were a year ago. And I do understand we have a surge, but literally I want to be mindful and be thankful for the science. A year ago, we didn't have vaccines. A year ago, we were not as effective as treating the disease as we are right now. We didn't know a lot about it and how to help people so that they can recover from it in different ways. There's a lot more data, a lot more science. So with my science background, I'm encouraged because science works. Yes, science doesn't work like, oh, we solved the problem and we're gonna like not think about it again. This is a real life example of how scientists have to continue to strive and ask questions and collect data and make adjustments as we move forward. So I feel like I'm starting the year at a much better place than I was a year ago. And I want to still recognize that it's been rough, and all of us maybe should do some additional check-in on our mental health and well-being. But thank you, science. It's not as bad as it was last year. I see hope. And I'm so thankful that I have access to these amazing, marvels of science. Let's just be honest, the whole world doesn't have access to vaccines like we do here in the United States. So I'm just really thankful of what place I'm in. And so as I move into my classroom, I'm starting with hope. I'm reflecting on the year behind. I'm taking what I've learned that's going to make me a better person and trying to move forward, and continuing to believe in science and love and human empathy. And that's the best I can do.
That's so, I love how you said that. And I think I've seen so much more understanding between people and willingness to say, oh, yeah, that happened. And well, thanks for acknowledging it. Or, like just being willing to give each other some space on what is and isn't working.
Exactly. And so I'm hoping we'll go into the school year with that mindset. Things might work, things might not work. We might have to change things. I have a plan for my whole year. That could just blow up in a week. And now I have experience, shifting and pivoting every 6 days. So I think we're all in a better place to kind of know, okay, this is the ride that we're on. Let's get on it together and see where we land.
Do you feel going into this next year that you're a better educator as a result of everything you've experienced?
I wish I could say that. I'm going to tell you the truth. Months of online learning and teaching in an online space, it makes you doubt yourself as an educator for sure. When you have classes and you don't see anybody, where are you there? It's very, very challenging. So I just want to say, like, I'm going into this year after going through a very challenging year as an educator and taking lessons learned from that challenging year to help come into this year better. But it was rough.
I can imagine.
I don't know if anybody else out there is feeling me on that. It was rough. I didn't have a lot of those, nailed it, golden teaching experiences. I think those happen more often in person than they happen in the digital space. But I think it made me stronger. Yeah,
excellent.
For sure.
Well, Marcella and Mark, do you have any final words of wisdom you'd like to leave? Because we are down to the last minute.
Yeah, I think Dejana said it so well. I think the values, kind of the characteristics of faith, hope, love, they're always that guiding light. And it just seems so crazy how much that's integrated into these learning environments, how we teach our children and learn the lessons that for some reason we get to learn during this lifetime together.
Yeah, and it took this for us to whittle it back down to those essentials.
Right.
But I think a lot of those, I think a lot of this is about choosing priorities, right? Like, we couldn't do it the way we wanted to do it. What's important about the educational process that we can keep, nurtured, and let some of the stuff that didn't matter so much go by the wayside.
Well said. Dejana, do you want to take us out?
Can I say thank you so much for another lovely conversation as we prepare to launch into the next academic year. I'm Dr. Dejana with Dr. Leo over there and our amazing panel, Dr. Marcella Klein-Williams and Dr. Mark Rettel. We hope you join us for another episode next week.
Thanks, everybody.